Hey everyone, I just recorded this whole thing with my microphone on mute, so hopefully I can do it again and this time not have any issues. So, I haven't posted a video in a while because honestly, the diversity in PoE 2 doesn't really impress me at the moment. I think PoE 1 is a much better game for theory crafting and weird interactions and that sort of thing, and probably will be for quite a while. I still enjoy PoE 2, but I just don't see, I don't get pushed to make videos as much, even with uh, some of my crazier builds. It just doesn't, it's not quite there yet. So what are we doing here? We're doing Shattershard, and I actually planned this build before the league started. I planned it as soon as I saw the Bloodline Ascendancies. Now, the Bloodline Ascendancy that piqued my attention for this build was the one that comes from Ritual. This one gives an additional ring slot, and why does that matter for Shattershard? Well, with an additional ring slot, for the first time in a long time, we are able to reach 100% reduced skill effect duration. Why does that matter? Well, Shield Shatter, as long as the ability that it grants you is up, you can't block, and you can't trigger it again. Or at least that's what I thought. And this is what I planned for the build before the league came out and we discovered we were going to get this item, the Monastery Bell. Now, what does the Monastery Bell do? You've probably seen this floating around. You've probably seen it from other content creators. But the Monastery Bell has this line, count as blocking attack damage from the first target hit with each shield attack. So that means that with any shield attack, you're able to trigger Shield Shatter. This is the first time that Shield Shatter has been able to kind of be used offensively like this. And real quickly, what does that mean also? It has to be shield skills. Think Shield Crush, Shield Charge, Spectral Shield Throw, etc. Of the shield skills, the faster one is actually Shield Charge, which is why we're utilizing it there, because the faster we can attack, the faster we can trigger. Now, what does that look like? Let's take a look real quick. So if you see me charging, you can see that every time we hit a pack of monsters, the bell triggers Shattershard. Now, I think this is bugged. And what do I mean by that? If I take off my reduced duration rings here and we do it again, you'll notice nothing has changed. And why has nothing changed? When you have Shield Shatter, the ability it grants, as you can see here, it is, your shield shatters, dealing physical spell damage to enemies in an area based on shield's quality. For a short duration after this, you'll be unable to block, and you'll gain no defenses, but your spells will deal additional physical damage. So, typically, and I'm saying this as somebody who has made dozens of Shield Shatter build. I make a Shield Shatter build every league, practically, at least one. And as somebody that's familiar with this, it should be going on cooldown. It should be going. There's no reason. There's nothing here that reads like it bypasses the fact that you have this buff on you and it shouldn't be able to trigger it again. So I think that GGG is going to nerf this, because I think this is an unintended interaction. I think every other build that is utilizing Monastery Bell right now, practically every build that I've seen, is just ignoring this fact, and which is typical. I mean, exploit while you can, I suppose, if that's your thing. But if you want a build that will survive that nerf, this build will actually do that. This build isn't affected by the fact that I think Monastery Bell is 100% abusing this bug right now. That Shield Shatter is being triggered every time you hit with Monastery Bell, regardless of the duration of Shield Shatter. But if we reduce our duration, skill effect duration, all the way down to 0, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And this gives us some other benefits. Let's talk about those other benefits real quickly. Why would we otherwise want to reduce our skill effect duration down to 0? Well, we get block back, as is the biggest thing. Let's talk about that real quick. So with our time clasps, 3 time clasps, and our warp time piece. And taking these nodes here, we're able to get 100% reduced skill effect duration. And the other important component of this is this rune graft of stability. Your lucky or unlucky effects are instead unexciting. And what unexciting does is it takes the average of 3 rolls, basically. And the reason we need that is because Monastery Bell has chance to block is unlucky on it, which is terrible. But this actually makes it better than if there was no lucky modifier. We have 68% chance to block attack damage on this build and 65% spell block, and 65% with this rune graph comes out to around 80% chance. 68% is obviously higher than that, and so it turns a bad thing into a pretty good thing. And so that's one big benefit of us. The other big benefit of us reducing our duration down to 0. Another good side effect is that we can lightning warp around really fast without, that additional percentage. And also, time clasp and time piece tend to be pretty synergistic with what we're doing on this build in general, because you want to be stacking attack speed, and the additional cast speed doesn't hurt for lightning warp as well. But all that attack speed is going into our shield charge. Our shield charge has over 5 attacks per second. And so that's the basics of what's going on in the build. Just real quickly, I'm pretty far into the video now, but obviously there's going to be times for anything you want to skip around in this part of the video. I'm just going over the basics of the build and why we made our decisions and why we're going the way we did here. So, real quick, just to give a general overview, I think the pros of the build are that originally it was cheap. These rings are getting quite a bit more expensive now, especially if you're min-maxing them like this, but there's no mana cost on Shield Shatter, on Shattershard. So no mana cost that we have to worry about with triggering. The only other item I'm aware of off the top of my head that's like that is like Mjolnir. Not many triggered abilities anymore. Mana is a huge problem to solve usually in rapid trigger builds like this, so that's a huge problem. Like I said, we have over 80% attack block, spell block. It's a huge. We have tons of AOE, so this is a screen clearing practically AOE. That's very easy to trigger. It honestly almost plays like Righteous Fire or something like that. Some of the cons are we can't use hexes because there's 0 duration, so that was a big downside. We do have Poacher's Mark on hit though, so we do get to use our 1 curse still for a pretty solid benefit. We're not very high HP at the moment because I've focused on upping our damage as much as possible. If I didn't want to do that, for instance, there's a Light of Meaning in here with physical damage, but if I have one in my inventory that's for life, and swapping these out gives me another 1,000 HP. But we hover between 3,500 and 4,000 HP on this build, so it's not doesn't have the most HP. The damage on the build is kind of hard to scale. You only get 3 sockets for Shield Shatter, so we'll be going over that in the gems portion of the video. But just to say that since we're on a 4-link, we have to utilize everything we can to scale our damage. What does that mean? That means Auras, Pride, Zealotry, Herald of Purity, and then also Ravenous Passion and Pain Attunement are the main ways of scaling damage, and that aforementioned Light of Meaning, which we'll go over when I get to the tree part of the video as well. But there are some cool things that, other than the fact that this is a Shield Shatter video, I am using several Might of the Meek, the new ones, the Foulborn ones, that I'll go over, which is pretty cool. And that is pretty much the build in a nutshell. So for the next part of the video, I'll be going over the skill tree. So for the skill tree part of this video, it looks a bit crazy, but it's honestly not too bad. We're not using any timeless, and some of this isn't even important. For instance, there's a foul-born unnatural instinct here. Do not worry about this. I wanted the additional 8% mana reservation here really badly, but you can just come down and path and grab these instead. You definitely do not need to invest into a foul-born. I randomly dropped this, and it happened to you work okay for my build, so it's here. But otherwise, let's talk about what we're doing. So we're starting as Sabo, as a and coming across and grabbing, just HP, so a little bit of physical damage, and then down here, this node here gives us 100% ignore enemy physical damage reduction, which is pretty nice for 4 points. So we grab that, and then we come over. Like I said, there's this foul-born unnatural instinct here. If you have it, great. If you don't worry about it. Just come down here and grab this cluster of charisma. And we come into the middle portion of this tree. And what's going on in the middle portion? Well, we have 2 Might of the Meek. One of them is a 100%, one is a 75%, and then we have a Light of Meaning. This Light of Meaning is pretty expensive, probably the most expensive part of build. Last time I looked, they were around 10 div. You don't need this to get the build up online or anything. It's just a very nice damage boost. You can spend a fraction of that, almost costs nothing. Actually, here, let me just pull it up. 5.8 chaos for the life version of Light of Meaning. Yeah, that just grab that and stick it in there and get an extra 1,000 HP instead. That's fine if you're hurting for cash. Now, why do you want to set it up exactly like this? Let's move through this real quickly. So the 100% is over in this corner, and what does that give us? First of all, we're getting a massive amount of AoE out of this. It's around 90% AoE, 33, 33 at 24, as well as a bunch of physical damage, because yes, Light of Meaning does interact with Might of the Meek, meaning that those 6% are gaining the bonuses, the 75 and the 100% bonuses, and so these ones over here have 16% physical damage as a result of that. That's the main reason we stick the 100% jewel here. Also, the 100% gives us, these 28% increased physical damage nodes, 3 of them down here, which is great. The other reason we use the 100% here is because it's small, and by being small it means we still get to take Iron Will, and we still get these Constitution and Path of the Warrior nodes, which is very nice. Normally, with a Might of the Meek setup in the center of the tree, it kills these because Might of the Meek doesn't allow you to use any notables that it's covering. So this is really cool. I really like these new ones. It's breathed a little bit of new life into Might of the Meek. We've got a 75% one over here so that we can get some overlap, and again, it doesn't touch Window of Opportunity, which is very important. If we used 100%, I believe that hits Window of Opportunity, which is no good for us, but 75% gives us almost as much benefit. We do have some tattoos in here for some resistances. This build is pretty resistant starve since we're using so many uniques. So we fix a little bit of that with, I think we're using 4 total, just 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And yes, tattoos do interact with Might of the Meek as well, which is nice. So with this new Might of the Meek setup as opposed to the old one, really the downsides are almost not here. It used to be that, we'd be covering up several notables, but now the only notable that we're missing is Harrier. We've managed to avoid pretty much everything else. We even get Sentinel down here, which is pretty cool. Not used to getting that. We still get Mage Bane, which is very cool. And we get like 50% spell suppress. I would like to cap off spell suppress. A better chest with spell suppression would help do that. As it is, I think the build has around 50%. Actually 43%, and just because these are the only spell suppression nodes we grab, and even with just these points here, we still have 43%, which is, pretty nice for the investment at least. So We're getting a whole bunch of everything here in the middle, though, and we grab Iron Will because why not? We do get, we have 290 strength, so it's still a decent bonus for 2 points. It's definitely worth it. We get lots of spell damage, which we use. We get lots of flat physical damage, which we use. And pretty much everything in here is ideal for because when you're doing this Might of the Meek setup, it really benefits physical builds more than anything because of these physical nodes here. Being a physical spellcaster means we get to use these and the ones on the right and the ones on the left, as well as the AoE for this build, and that feels very good. It feels very efficient. Then we come down here, we grab Unwavering Stance. We definitely want this because we don't want to be evading attacks, and we also don't want to be stunned, so this is nothing but upsides for us. We do grab some chance to block over here. And then we come down. This Vengeance is pretty important. It allows us to keep our rage up very easily on this build since we're getting hit a lot. We come over here, we get our life, we get our 15% for not having it on our chest. We get Versatile Combatant. This is what allows us to be decently tanky. It gives us our spell block. It's also why we need so much block. Shattershard does have up to 38% block on it, which is pretty nice, but we need a lot more than that since we want to cap spell block as well, so we come here down here to get Testudo, which gives us 10%, and then we get the Shield Mastery that gives us 1% for each 5% on the shield, which again is very good because Shattershard has such a high block chance. We come over here, we get Iron Reflexes so that we can convert any of, ideally we'd be using at least 3 evasion pieces of gear. These 2 would be nice to have spell suppression on, and then we'd get to convert our armor and evasion, or our evasion over to armor on Shattershard as well for some bonus armor. Right now I hover at around 16k, nothing special, but it is nice to have. We come up here, we get Deflection, which is very important for the endurance charge generation, which will make it so that we have all of our endurance charges all of the time. We get Frenzy charges from Poacher's Mark. And then this Block Mastery, which gives us 20 life and mana, which is very important for just keeping our mana topped off all the time. Every time you block, and we're blocking constantly thanks to Monastery Bell. Coming back up here, let's take a look at some of these gems. We just have this, again, lots of resistances, life, physical damage on this one. The middle we already went over. We already went over the Foulborn. Up here we have our Corrupted Blood Jewel so that we can ignore Corrupted Blood, and then again lots of resistances, physical damage. It'd be nice to have life on this one, but that would be a very, very expensive jewel. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, let's go over let's go over Sabo real quickly. You'll notice some weird stuff happening here. So you can see that I do not have Perfect Crime anointed or taken at the moment, and the reason for that is that trigger bots are a big damage boost. It's the main reason I went Sabo for this build. However, it's very, very clunky for mapping. They're always behind you, even with Convocation. They do not keep up. It's an unfortunate side effect of things, but when I am doing a lot of bossing, I just like to have it off. Our damage is high enough on this build. Our damage is between 4 and 10 million at any given time. It's nothing to sneeze at without trigger bots. Trigger bots brings it way up. Obviously, for bossing, that's great. But for mapping, absolutely do not need it. And so I just grab a couple of these random extra nodes for movement speed in the area of effect, which is nice. But other than that, we get Born in Shadows. The 15% reduced damage is very nice, very important for the build. And Bomb Specialist, which is just flat damage and damage reduction, which is great. 30% chance to deal 50% more area damage is huge for us. And then, of course, we get our ring slot going through the middle on that tree, on the new Bloodline Ascendancy. So that covers the tree. Next I'll be going over gems and equipment. So you've seen most of the equipment at this point, so we'll just go over it real quickly. We have the Monastery Bell, of course, which we've covered. And just a couple things to note. This is a double corrupt. I think this is the best double corrupt. You definitely want as much local attack speed as possible. 7 is the max. And then area of effect. Some other contenders that I tried were things like Fortify on hit, but unfortunately you're not actually hitting with the Monastery Bell, so you don't get the Fortify. You're hitting with your shield. Something to keep in mind. That was a one div, mistake on my part. So, honestly, these are probably the best. I think there's one for endurance charges that might be alright as well, but we don't really have a problem with endurance charges, so I wouldn't worry about it. Next, we have Ravenous Passion. I think the 90% cost and reservation multiplier is pretty important to get on this. This, of course, gives us, Ravenous Passion gives us lots of damage, since it makes Rage give spell damage instead of attack damage. The gain 9 Rage after spending a total of 200 mana isn't very important here. I wouldn't even worry about that stat. We are spending mana, and it does help maintain our Rage, but the amount here isn't important. It's nice that it helps maintain it every once in a while when we're just going from pack to pack or whatever, but the main generation of Rage is coming from that Vengeance here instead. We have Shattershard. This could be corrupted as well. They're actually surprisingly expensive this league, and it looks like a lot of people are getting into the Shattershard builds because of these changes. The most important thing here is definitely the block chance. The higher you get block chance on this, the more benefits you get elsewhere, like the shield mastery, and the less points we need to invest in order to cap our spell block. We get a warp time piece. Now the goal here between the rings and the warp time piece is hitting that 100% threshold. Now we have that 25% on the tree, so between these 4 pieces we have to make up that extra 75% reduced skill effect. With perfect rolls we would have 5 left over, and so between these 4 you really have room for 5 points off of perfect. What do I mean by that is, like, you can see this one I have 18%, and on this warp time piece I have 18% reduced skill effect duration. So I have 101% total. You just need over 100%. If that means you want to have like 3 19 rings and a 17 or an 18 warp time piece, that's fine. Just make sure that you have a total of 100% reduced skill effect duration. Now the implicits I went for on the rings and the warp time piece, as well as the quality, was for speed modifiers. Attack speed is the most important thing on the build. Chest is just one that, like many other people this league probably, just I crapped out of the blood tree. This one has a lot of armor and evasion, which is nice. A lot of elemental resistances, and chaos resistance is what we're going for mainly here. I avoided life so that I could get the 15% off the tree, although flat would be fine here. This is just what I got. It's the best chest that I got of the ones that I tried. But pretty much you can make most things work here. We're using Coward's Legacy in order to get low life without having to do anything like Petrified Blood. Coward's Legacy, of course, pairs with Pain Attunement to give us 30% more spell damage. Is one of the most important things for scaling our spell damage here. We've got Doedri's Tenir. This one is a double corrupt with attack speed and frenzy charges, which are the best implicits for this. We're getting frenzy charges from our Poacher's Mark, but I'll go over the gems immediately after this. This is just a free 100% spell damage. That's why we're grabbing this. This is not a must. If I needed to fit other things into the build, this is the first thing I would change. It's 100 spell damage is nice, but we get a lot of increases elsewhere, and so this 100% isn't as important as other things might be in your build trying to make this up. And then we've just got a pair of, this is a pretty bad pair of boots, honestly. This is another thing I need to improve. This is just boots with a lot of resistances and movement speed, and that covers the items as a whole. Now, going over the gems, the important ones are in the helmet that because of the cost and reservation multiplier, we've got Herald of Purity, Pride, and Zealotry. So damage, damage, and damage is what we're going for here. one thing I want to talk about real quickly is that normally Herald of Purity would be very annoying on a Shattershard build, but it is not here. And what do I mean by that is that Herald of Purity, whenever you hit something, is summoning these guys, and they're taking hits for you. You don't want things to take hits for you. You want things to hit you on this build because you want to trigger Shattershard. But with 0% duration, they don't spawn. As you can see, if I find some enemies real quick, you can see they try to spawn, but they're just gone before they even spawn. You can see their little circles appear. And so they never spawn, and so we never have to worry about them. So that's another nice reduction benefit. In Shattershard, the supports I'm going for, you should have Awakened Brutality support here instead. It's a little bit more damage. Awakened Controlled Destruction, because we do not, Shield Shatter does not have crit, so there is no downside. And so we get to use some of the largest damage multipliers in the game, which is, again, important because we only have a 4-link on this build. And then Cruelty is honestly probably the best third. There's some other contenders here, but honestly, there aren't that many. There aren't that many. I wish there was, but Cruelty honestly is probably the next best thing. In our chest, we have additional accuracy, rage, faster attacks, poacher's mark, shield charge, and mark on hit. So we just want to go as fast. We need the accuracy because we are not getting accuracy anywhere else in this build. The rage support just helps with rage generation. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Poacher's mark is okay on the build because it's giving us frenzy charges is the main thing. We do benefit from every other component of it, but the frenzy charges I would say is by far the most important aspect. I'm not using this Petrified Blood. We're using Flame Golem, increased damage and AoE. And in our gloves we have Lightning Warp with faster casting. You can notice there's a lot of empty slots on this sockets on this. It's not a socket star build by any means. So if you have any ideas there, go for it. And that covers the other than that, I guess the use whatever you want for potions. We have to use life and mana potions because again our Bloodline Ascendancy is getting rid of our utility flasks. So whatever you want. It's nice to have a unreserved mana effect not removed mana flask in case. It's pretty rare that you are low on mana for any reason in this build, but if it does happen, it's nice to have that effect on it. I'm just using these Blood of the Karui to spam, and then some just instant recovery life flasks. So with bleed removal, and that's pretty much it. So if you made it here, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. I will export my tree and stick that in the comments as well. I'm not putting any notes or anything. You're just getting the tree as I have it here. I guess one last thing that I forgot to go over that I'm just realizing now is I'm using Tender Embrace and Heart of Flame for my graphs. They're both defensive, and the nice thing is we get to use defensive graphs because the less reduced duration on our gear does not apply to the graph skills, so we still get to use Heart of Flame. So where we normally not get Molten Shell, we're actually getting a better Molten Shell in Heart of Flame. And Tender Embrace is a nice bonus as well, to be honest. So, and Tender Embrace works while you're on low life, and we're always on low life. So we're constantly getting the buff from Tender Embrace. But if you have any questions, feel free to stick them down below. Thanks for watching again, and I have one other build I want to make a video for, at least this league. So other than that, I'll catch you guys next time.
Let's get it done! Cover me! Dance with the flame! Burn it all to the ground!
That was fun.
Burn it all to the ground! Dreamers will! Oh, I refuse proof against the swarm! Existence is stilled! I can do this! I'll take you all down with me! That's better! Go! I'll handle it from here!
With your death, this nightmare may finally end. I'm better! You're in my sights! I'll always find you! Out! Strike!
There you are. Let's go. Good job. There you are. It's time. Good job. Aquate's used his growing influence to...
Time to up the stakes!